What's up, Christ Chapel? How are you guys doing? Welcome to our reading plan for the summer. So once a week, we'll be posting these videos, and what we're going to be doing is just going through this reading plan and showing you a study method we like to do for studying the Bible. So if you haven't checked out Caroline's video on how to do a Hear Journal or what that looks like, definitely go check out that video now. But what I'm going to do is I'm starting with day one today. Our reading plan starts in John. We're going to be going through the first 11 chapters this summer. So we're starting in chapter 1, and the reading was verses 1 through 18. So I've read it. If you haven't read it yet, go read it, come back, and then I'm going to walk through the Hear Journal. All right, you're back. Okay, so the Hear Journal, H-E-A-R. So H is highlight. So in highlighting, I've read this and I've prayed about it, and I'm looking for verses that stuck out to me. So one of the ones that stuck out for me was actually the first one. It says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Something about that just really stuck to me about figuring out what is the word here, because it's capitalized, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But then the other verse was verse 14. And verse 14 says, "And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory, glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth." So it's starting to hint at who or what this Word is. So those are the verses that stuck out to me. I looked up that word, and it's from the Greek word logos, which means word or thought. And in this context, we are talking about Jesus. And this is telling us that Jesus has been there since the beginning, that Jesus is fully God. But that the cool thing is, in verse 14, he came and lived on earth as a man. And that's what this book is starting off with. So that's the H, the highlight, just finding the things that were that stuck out to me. So in my journal, I wrote down verse 1, and I wrote out the whole verse, and I wrote out the whole verse of 14. And another cool thing to do is maybe go and try to memorize that first verse and get it to where you can recite it without even looking at it. All right, the E. E is explain. So this is where you want to see who wrote this book. Who were they writing to? What was their purpose? So I did a little research. I've got a Bible that's got some notes and tells me some stuff, but you can look up information online. So this book was written by John. It was one of Jesus' disciples. People say it was probably written between 70 and 100 AD. So old book. And I found that the theme is really John just trying to speak to Jews and Gentiles in this Greek and Roman world to show and prove that Jesus was this promised Messiah that the Jewish people had been waiting for. And so I feel like what God's trying to communicate through me is this book could be a good book to help maybe solidify any doubts that I have. If I question was Jesus really God? Was Jesus really perfect? I feel like going through this book, if that's the theme, this is something that's going to be communicated through it. So that's the E, explain. A is what we want to start applying with. So what is this telling me about who God is? So I think it's cool, one, that this is showing me that Jesus is God, and that Jesus has been around forever. He's always been there with God. It says that in the beginning was the Word, which kind of starts out like Genesis, where it says in the beginning, God. And this says in the beginning was the Word. So God, the Word, Jesus, they've been around forever. And it really just reminds me of Jesus just being consistent and never changing and always the same, which is comforting for me. But in that second verse that I read, something at the end stuck out where it said, "From the Father who is full of grace and truth." And I looked this up in the translation, and it correlates a lot with the word steadfast love, which is just a great reminder that something I have to preach to myself is that God will never love me any less or any more than he does right now, because his steadfast love, his love never changes. So that's a truth that I can pull out of this that's easy to miss if you're reading it too quick. And so it's good to just slow down and read through this. All right, so the last one is R. This is respond. So what does God invite me to do through this? So if that's a truth that I'm pulling out of this, that I think is true, that I can apply to my life, what is my response to that? If I know that God will never love me any less or any more, that's freeing. That tells me that I don't have to try and earn his love. I don't have to try and make sure I check all the boxes to get him to love me more or anything like that. And at the same time, I have the freedom that if I do mess up, he doesn't love me any less. So I can come to him confidently and ask for forgiveness and ask for help. And that's freeing because I don't feel like any shame from messing up. I don't feel any pressure to be something that I can't be. I just feel love. And so my response should be one of confidence, to where I feel like I can live my day boldly knowing that I'm loved fully in Christ. And so my prayer for this would be that I rest in that. And that's my prayer for you too. So I'm going to write down these truths in my journal. I'm going to reflect on them later so I can come back to it. And I encourage you, as you go through this week and this summer, go through it slowly. Practice this here journal. Highlight, explain, apply, and respond. See you guys later.